And hello, welcome everyone to this video of .NET. Last video, we actually talked of how to discuss how to do simple calculations and mathematical things. So yeah, now I want to move on to the concept of functions. Okay, so what's a function and why would you need a function? Okay, well, let's math. As you can see, maths can be used for a lot of things, but it kind of needs context. It needs a scenario. So let's say you wanted to do a conversion, right? Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, what do you need to do? You take the temperature in Fahrenheit, you minus 32, then you times 5 divided by 9. Okay, so let us try that. So I'm going to go to our test page, testpage.cshtml. I'm going to put the star down there. Okay. Ooh. Okay, if I want to quit everything, remember, :QA exclamation mark. Okay. Alright, so yeah, here is our page. Okay, here's our page. And what do I need to do? Okay. Let's say I'm going to put things in here. I'll just say let's have a Fahrenheit to Celsius. Alright, so what do we need? Okay, we'll declare some variables: double Celsius, Fahrenheit. Okay, double Celsius and Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's give a temperature. Oh boy, I think I better spell Fahrenheit correctly. Fahrenheit. There's a H down there. Fahrenheit. That's how you spell Fahrenheit. Okay. So let's say Fahrenheit equals to 89.2. Okay, it's a very it's a fairly warm temperature. And if it's humid, you will not enjoy it, but yeah, it's still survivable. Okay, and we want to convert this to Celsius. So what do we need to do? Celsius equals to Fahrenheit. Okay, minus 89.2 minus 32. Okay, then we will use the bracket notation here. Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5 divided by 9. Okay, so I'm going to make a Fahrenheit to Celsius converter. Okay, I will say H2 /H2. Okay, Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, and then I'm going to put the thing here, P at Fahrenheit, F. Okay, then I'll put equals to at Celsius. Okay, C. Okay, so let's see whether this thing actually turns out well. Okay, I think I missed a semicolon again because it says here semicolon expected. So let's add in our semicolon. Okay, what do we have here? 89.2 F equals 31.7778 degrees C. Obviously, we don't need that many decimal places, but okay, fair enough. It does its job, right? So, so let's say I have five times that we want to change the temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So Fahrenheit 1. Okay, Fahrenheit 1. I'll call this double Fahrenheit 1. Fahrenheit 2. Okay, maybe I'll say F1, F2, F3, right? F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. I want to do this conversion 5 times. What am I supposed to do to convert the Celsius 5 times? Well, one way is to literally type this thing 5 times. Okay, I will say, okay, double C1 equals to F1 minus 32 times 5/9. Okay, and of course I forgot to type in what the value of f1 is. F1 equals to 95. Save. Okay, f2 equals 73, f3 equals 84, f4 equals 108, f5 equals to 202. So these are different temperatures in Fahrenheit. Okay, so what do I do to convert all of them? Well, I'll have to paste this thing 5 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 more times. So I will have to do this double C2, C3, C4, C5, and I'll change this to 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oops. Yeah. And then, okay, everything is nicely put out, and I can just do the paragraph here like that. Okay, at C1, comma, at C2, comma, at C3, comma, at C4, comma, at C5. Okay, and let's check out. Alright, so we have our conversion from Fahrenheit to degrees C. Again, we have many dotted lines which we don't want. We kind of want to do round off, right? Okay, so let's say I want to do a rounding off thing. Okay, I will look for the C++, C# round off to do 2 decimal places, right? Okay, so we use the term math round, and then we will take the value 2. So what do I need to do if I want to convert everything to 2 decimal places? Alright, it will be pretty troublesome. Okay, so what do I need to do? I will need to say Celsius equals to math.round Celsius minus Celsius minus what? Celsius to 2 decimal places. Okay, and then let's look here. Okay, I need a semicolon again. Okay, so I inserted the semicolon and I quickly reloaded. Okay, this is much nicer. But then I need to repeat this 4 times. Okay, so this is a bit annoying. So what is this thing saying here? The new definition of Celsius equals to rounding off of the previous value of Celsius, which is this, then you round it to 2 decimal places. Okay, so it is a bit crazy that if you want to keep doing this round off thing 5 times, especially if you know you're going to use this calculation very often, you want to kind of sort of have a way of copying and pasting all of this, right? So the convenient way, instead of doing all this manually and I copy this rounding off 5 times, which is very tedious, and I don't want to do that, the way we can do it is to use a function. Now what a function does is to well, if you have all these calculations here, it will take an input, it will run it through calculations, and then it will like put an output, right? So for example, how would it work? Okay, so a function will just take in the temperature in Celsius, and then it will churn out a temperature in Fahrenheit. Oh wait, it will take in the temperature in Fahrenheit and it will churn it out in Celsius, and then vice versa if you wanted. It's really up to you, right? So so instead of doing this thing, we can do a function. So the simplest function, or the most shorthand function, is called a lambda expression or lambda function. So a lambda function will be our first example of a function. How do we write a function? Okay, if you see here, this will actually show you the syntax, and I'll explain it to you without you having to read it. Okay, first, you need to say that it's a function, obviously. So you type FUNC with a capital F. Okay, so FUNC, and this is a function. Alright, then you see these 2 data types here. Okay, I have not introduced you to integer, but now I'm introducing you to integer. This is an integer data type which can only take, it's basically a number, but it can only take integer values, either 0, 1, 2, 3, or 5. It cannot take 5.5, 5.54, 4.55, etc., etc. So the input, okay, the type of input, the data type of input will be over here. We actually gave it to be an integer, or at least these guys gave it to be an integer. Then this is the data type of the output. So remember, in C#, you always need to, when you declare a variable, you always need to declare the type. Okay, you always need to declare the type. Okay, so this first integer here represents the type of the input. This second integer here represents the type of data type of the output. So it means for this function, it will take in an integer number and then it will output another integer number. Okay, so what do we want here? We want our numbers to all be double. So it will be a double input and a double output, because Celsius can be it's a 35 point something, Fahrenheit can be also 58 point something, that idea. So so this is how you actually declare your data types for your inputs and outputs. So the first data type will be for your input, the second data type will be for your output. The next thing you need to give for functions is, okay, what is the name of your function? Okay, for this function you see here, it is called square. Okay, it is called square. Okay, it literally gives you the square of something. As you can see here, x, and then it has this arrow thingy, x times x. So yeah, this is the name of the function. So let's give our function the name f to c, right? Fahrenheit to Celsius. I just call it f to c. Okay, and what will the function do? Okay, the function will take in what do you call that? It will take in the input. Okay, so before you put the input, you have to put an equal sign, and ideally you put the input in the brackets. Okay, tell you why later when we go into more complicated functions. It's always nice to put the input in the bracket so that you can segregate things for yourself. Now this is useful especially when you have more than one input, and then of course you want to so-called make sure that the input is so-called, to human eyes you can see that things are like nicely organized. So put them in brackets to organize it. Alright, so that's the input. And how do you then type the output? So the equal sign will start telling C# or .NET. Okay, it'll tell C#. Okay, please be prepared for input. So what the inputs? The only input that you give it is f, because when you so this is a one input one output function. So one input of a type double. Okay, the input will be type double. The output output will be type double. So one input and one output. This is the simplest kind of function. Okay, so what's the output? Okay, I would like to type a bracket and of course a semicolon. Always have a semicolon. If not, you have errors. So what's the thing? We need to have, okay, f minus 32.0 times 5 divided by 9. Okay. Then okay, what else? We also want the rounding off, right? So let's write math.round, okay, this value, and then let's put it to 2 decimal places. Okay, so make sure that our brackets are there. So this will actually give you the calculation in Celsius, from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and then this math round thing actually converts it into 2 decimal places. So let's save. Okay, and it seems that we have no errors. So instead of us doing this calculation manually, let's use the function now. So okay, let's do it. Double C1, and how here we will show you how I'll show you how to call the function. So the function is literally you type f to c, F to C, and then you can type in whatever input you want, which is F1. Okay, F1 is 95, and then you have a 35 here. Okay, the next function you can do the same. Alright, so I can delete a few lines. Alright, I'm going to delete like so. Delete. I'm using the full stop sign to delete everything, and then I will use visual line V. I will yank paste. Okay, let me undo. Visual line again. Yank paste. Oops. Paste. Yeah, that's better. Paste, paste, and paste. Alright. So, okay, all I need to do to change the thing is to just change F1 to F5, and well, take a look. You have all your what do you call that? All your values now nicely put in a Celsius, okay, instead of Fahrenheit. So you have these 5 numbers in Fahrenheit. You want to convert these 5 numbers in Fahrenheit to Celsius. So since it's a very repetitive thing, you kind of want to just you kind of want to have a function do all the hard work for you. So the syntax may take a while to get used to, so do practice a few times. Maybe you can do a inverse version of it. You can do a Celsius to Fahrenheit converter, or you want to change it to Kelvin, Rankine or something like that. You can do it as well. Alright, so these are simplest of functions. They are known as lambda expressions, and you can see that we have been using it fairly okay here, and we see the use here. Alright, what is the use? The use is that, yeah, for one thing, I don't need to type all of these things out like 5 times over here. And the second thing, if I want to make a change to this function, it will automatically apply every time I use this function. What do I mean? Now let's say I want to change this to 1 decimal place. Okay, let's say I want to change this to 1 decimal place. Okay, so what do? Instead of changing it 1 at a time, if I were to write it out here, I can just change this number here. The math.round, instead of being from 2, I can change it to 1, and look at what happens. Okay, all my numbers here are now changed to 1 decimal place. Alright, so that's a nice thing about functions. Once you write it and you know it works, and now you can use it throughout your code, and it's fine. So yeah, of course you won't only have functions with 1 input. You can actually have functions with 2 inputs. So let's show you functions with 2 inputs. All right, so let's say we have this this function here. Okay, since we know this one already works, okay, I'm going to make another function with 2 inputs. So okay, 2 inputs. All right, and what am I going to call it? I'm also going to call it F to C, 2.0 or something like that. F to C2. Okay, so this will be the function name, and what will be the input? Okay, I will have 2 inputs. So what I like to do now is to put the inputs in brackets. So let me put an equal sign, and this will give the inputs. So the first input will be your Fahrenheit. The next input will be your decimal places. All right. Okay, so once I design the input, I need to also, of course, design the output. And well, I can just copy this thing here. I'll yank this whole thing, and I'll paste it here. Right? And then I will change this number to decimal places. Okay? Oh, I see. Okay, there's an error here still. Argument 2 cannot convert from double to integer. Alright, it seems that when you tell C# to round off something, the decimal places has to be an integer value, not a double value. So we need to change the input type from double, we need to change it to integer. So changing this second thing to integer will be fine. So let me explain again. If we want to customize the number of decimal places we round off our degree Celsius to, we will need to give it a number of decimal places, right? Okay, so the number of number of decimal places, right? The number of decimal places will be, okay. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, we need to customize the number of decimal places, and for math rounding of this function, the number of decimal places cannot be 2.5, it cannot be 3.5, it has to be 2 or 3. So this decimal places thing must be an integer. So decimal places will be integer, that's why we are using the second argument, the second thing here, the second variable here must be type integer. The first variable can be a double, which is the temperature in Fahrenheit, and the output can be also double, which is temperature in degrees C. Now let's try this. We'll use the last function to test out, or the last conversion, Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion. We'll use it to test our new function. So we call it F to C2. Okay, and then we want to put it to maybe 10 decimal places. Okay, so you see, now this thing is working very nicely, in fact. Alright, so that's great. Okay, so now if you notice something about this function and this function, is that basically they do pretty much the same thing, right? They're converting Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius. Okay, so let's say I want a function that converts it to 3 decimal places, 2 decimal places, 1 decimal place, right? Okay, so how do we do it? Okay, if I want individual functions that just convert to 1, 2, 3 decimal places, okay, I can do something like this. This is the manual way. Okay, this is the manual way. 1 dp, 2 dp, 3 dp. Okay, this is the manual way of doing it. So I will change the number of decimal places. Instead of this, we'll put 1, this one we'll put 2, this one we'll put 3, and then of course I can do things like that here. So 1 dp, 2 dp, and 3 dp. Okay, this works fine, right? Okay, so is it every time that we make a new function, do we want to keep putting this math round thing here, and then we'll have all these complicated numbers? Okay, it's a very ugly thing to look at. Okay, well, if you notice this thing over here, it is pretty much the same as this function, except that now you need to define the decimal place. In fact, if you look at the way we use F to C2, okay, F to C2, it will just take in degrees in Fahrenheit, it will take in a number of decimal places, and then it will churn out degrees Celsius to whatever decimal place you want. So instead of writing all of this here, could we then use F to C2 and then we put it here? Yeah, could we use F to C2 and put it here? Answer is yes. So you can use a function in another function. So let me demonstrate to you what I mean. Alright, so I'm going to delete all of this. Alright, I'm going to delete all of this. Okay, I'm going to delete all of this. Okay, delete. And then I'm going to just type F to C2. Alright, and then I'm going to take in the degrees in Fahrenheit to be the first input. And then how many decimal places we want? We just want 1 decimal place. So I'm going to save and take a look. over here, this thing is running exactly the same. So it means our function worked. Okay, so we can just pretty much replace it. Okay, so I'm going to do a visual mode, and then I'm just going to delete visual mode. Okay, I'm going to delete, save, and I'll just type F2, C2, F2. So this means it will take the Fahrenheit, and then it will convert it to Celsius with 2 decimal places. Then I will take F to C2, F3, and take a look. Everything is back to normal. Okay, so what I want to say here is that if you have a function with so many inputs, or you want to use a function within another function, you absolutely can do so. Alright, it is a nice way of programming. It allows you to make your code a bit neater. So instead of writing this whole bunch of things here, you can shorten your code. So that it's more concise. Okay, it's easier on the eyes. Especially when you're looking for bugs, it's going to be a lot easier when you can pinpoint where the bugs are coming from. So if you want to do debugging a lot, it is very good to make your code neat and very readable. And one of the ways you can do it is to use functions to call other functions, instead of having one whole long line of code, and then if something goes wrong, you don't know where it's coming from. Okay, so that's all. I'm going to do my let's see, other one. Okay, write and quit. Okay, so everything's doing everything's good. I want to git again git add test page.chhtml with star git commit. Okay, Fahrenheit to Celsius converter, lambda functions added. Okay, and of course I'm going to push to GitHub, but I'm not going to demonstrate that to you because you probably have seen it many times. So yeah, hopefully I hope this was helpful in helping you understand lambda functions, which is the simplest form of functions in C#. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.